Hello, everyone. How are you? Before we begin this week, I have to tell you we had some technical difficulties last week. So last week's lesson was not recorded. And it's not available. But I'm going to do, I'm repeating it right now and then do, this is for last Sunday. And then I will continue on with the next lesson for this coming Sunday. So just so you know, nobody disappeared or anything. We just had some technical difficulty, and we don't want to have that. We want to clear that up and make sure the message gets to you in complete form. So how are you doing? I hope you're well. I hope your little ones are well, and that you've begun your teaching and listening and learning together without a hitch. Um, as I say, and I will say always, always pray to the Holy Spirit so that the Spirit can direct you in where you are to go with wisdom and grace and all that you need to do to hand on the faith to these young ones. And again, thank you for doing that. It's so important. Our young ones are so um, well, they're needy, like we are needy. We all need it. So this gospel for last Sunday is one that we talk about a lot. And again, it continues from the theme from the week even before that about the poor and who are the poor among us and how do we, well, many we can see, but what can we do about it? And Jesus is pretty, I would say very, very serious. He's always serious, but this is, you get an extra sense of him being even more serious about this, to pay attention to this, because it's the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, the poor man, and who gets to heaven and who does not or could not or who could. So uh, just before I want to preface that by saying, there's two Lazaruses in the scriptures. One is Lazarus of Bethany, brother of Martha and Mary, and the one who Jesus has rises from the dead out of the tomb. And there's this Lazarus who, no relation. He's a different Lazarus, but Jesus tells this parable. And this parable Jesus tells comes after the actual rising of, the way I understand it, the actual rising of Lazarus from Bethany. So that's already on Jesus's mind. So they're not the same Lazarus, but maybe in some way Jesus is connecting it, just to in some way uh, for us to pay attention. And Lazarus also was a name that was used a lot in those days. Like we might use John, or we might use, anything like common name. So again, I just don't want you to think it's the same Lazarus. I mean, I know many of us have made that mistake and wondered um, about it. So this Lazarus of the gospel, the poor Lazarus who sits outside the gate of the rich man, uh, wants to eat. He's hungry, and he says, "Can't you even give me the scraps off the tables?" I mean, and at the end of the day, in this parable, it's that Lazarus, when he dies, goes to the bosom of Abraham, which is a place of honor, and the rich man struggles. So the lesson here is not about, is it bad to be rich? It's what do we do with it? Is that the most important thing for us, to be rich? If we have money, great, but we should share it. We should take care of the poor. As Jesus said to us, you will always have the poor with you. And we need to be reminded of that. And I think every major city, we can see it. We can see people who are homeless, and there's poor people all over the world. And what does that mean? And poor people in this country, kids who go without food, kids who go without drink. Uh, and we have to be aware of that, socially minded, and follow the social gospel as well. What are those lessons? So that is, basically the summary. You have Amos, who gives us the first reading, and Amos is all about justice. I like Amos. I like the prophet Amos, and you read about him, and he's really gung ho. So that's all connected to the gospel. All right, and that common thread of taking care of the poor and what is unjust, and making sure we have a hand in maybe correcting that. That's part of our job as disciples of Jesus. So those are basically our readings, to remember, this reading about stewardship and, all kinds of things that Jesus wants us to be aware, gives us those things, those names, those titles. So for what I would do this week, or it was last Sunday. If you want to go over it anymore with, so you might have a better understanding, but it is what it is. I know we passed the Sunday, but to think about it for yourself, because the theme of being poor will come up over and over and over again throughout the Gospels. Something that's very, and especially in Luke's Gospels, because Luke has written for the poor. So we will hear that many times over. So just to be aware of it and to bring that to our young ones so that they can see. And I think even in the lessons for the week with the summary of the readings on the website, I talk about maybe there's something you can do together to help the poor. What can that be? What can you do together? Talk about it, and where can you go, and how do you serve those who have less than us? Um, One of the things too, in this the weeklies themselves, there's pictures of the Pope, but it's not Pope Leo. They were produced and published and written before the death of Pope Francis. So I would just bring you to be aware of that. And when you talk to the young guys about, we do have a new Pope, they probably even know that already, but explain why there's still Francis there when, Leo is our new Pope, which he will be showing up in, further future publications. So that's really it for this week. Uh, I think about, being the poor, that's what we're to think of, and Lazarus, uh, and maybe you want to reread those readings because they are pretty powerful. So have a good week. I am holding you in my prayers. You please hold me in yours, and pray for handing on the faith to those who we love.